Hi, welcome back to School of Love, where we want to revolutionize the parent-child relationship so you can talk about anything, especially sex. Not all of us grow up that way. My guest today also didn't, but she decided because it's actually quite an important thing to her and something that she's learned a lot about later in life. And so she's found a way to reshape that culture in her own family and with her kids. So I hope you enjoy this conversation and maybe find out something new for your own family. Today I'm with Johanna Torresen, and welcome, Johanna.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Right, so you are a mom of three since the beginning of this year, right? Your son was born.
October, he was born last
Oh,
October.
okay. Already so long already. Yeah, nice. Yeah, Johanna is a teacher. Can you remind me which grades you teach?
I'm teaching middle school and high school, so grade 8 to 13 in German and religion.
Mm-hmm. And and your kids are basically half a year old is the youngest, right? And
Yeah. And then I have a daughter who's 11 years old and another son who is 7 years old.
right. Yeah. So we actually tried recording once and my tech was not on point. So we're trying this over. So thank you so much for coming again, Johanna. And let's just go straight into the topic. Um, so we grew up learning about sexuality basically. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna guess that we had similar experiences. I had one talk from my parents, and it was basically just biology, and there was no emotions involved, like emotions that might have to do with sexuality or intimacy, and those were then also never spoken about forever afterwards. So, yeah, it was just this one talk. And so, how was it for you?
I don't remember a talk like that. I just remember bits and pieces that were kind of fear-based or shame-based. Like when my brother had a friend over, my mom would say, um, "Don't go into their room with your t-shirt off" or something like that. And I was like, I wasn't planning to, but okay. um, yeah, I don't know, just very, very little talking like that. And I learned much more about like purity and stuff from workshops. I mean, lectures and discussions that were organized or informal discussions with friends inside or outside Family Federation. Um, that's, yeah, that's more how I kind of shaped my values and my viewpoints on this.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a mix of like it's interesting because our founders, True Father and True Mother, spoke so much about sexuality, but then our parents, actually more True Father, True Mother, not so much, right?
Mm.
But our parents really avoided the topic. I think
Yeah.
generally all over the world. So you have your own family now, which you are raising in Norway. I don't know if you guys were always, all your kids were born in Norway?
Yes. I grew
Uh-huh.
up in Germany, but all of them were born in Norway.
Okay. So, yeah, I know from us talking before, you changed the culture. Like the way you're not bringing up your kids the way you did around this topic of sexuality. Um, so how did that happen? And what made you think that you need to change it?
Seeing the contrast between how my parents not talked about things or talked about things and how we talked about it at workshops and what how learning about it at workshops was much more valuable. And then I think in general the trend went more to talking about the positive instead of talking about what is not allowed, like in the beginning at workshops, there were still the three no's: no dating, no smoking, no drinking. And then later that shifted more to focus on having healthy friendships and healthy sibling relationships and working towards the goal of having a good marriage. So just seeing different cultures around me, and then I shaped what I wanted, and I figured out that what I want to teach my children, what I want them to know, is first the value of waiting until marriage so that they have a strong marriage, and second, respecting others who don't choose to wait or who go another path or who have different viewpoints, different values, and third, to come with me with their problems or their questions also regarding conjugal love, because I never really had an adult to talk to when I grew up, and that was a big lack. So it's very important to me that my children feel free enough to come to me, but also to other adults in their surroundings. And also thinking back to how the relationship was with my parents when I was a teenager, I figured it's very important to teach my children what I want to teach them before they're 10 years old about this topic, because afterwards it more easily gets awkward and they're less open to talk about delicate subjects like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you mentioned some really good points. Yeah, building up really healthy sibling relationships, and that you want to be that person that we were missing, basically, while we were growing up. Yeah, and interesting. Yeah, I feel like sometimes we have this fear of speaking too early, because then we might, I don't know, like sometimes my thoughts are, oh, what if I'm putting thoughts in their head that they don't need to think about. But yeah, like you said, I'm also starting to change how I think, that we need to just show them this is an okay topic. Some people misuse the topic, of course, and we warn them of it, but also there is this beautiful side to it when you, use sexuality in a healthy way, within a strong marriage. So that you build that up before all these awkward thoughts come from probably peers or media and all those things. Yeah.
Also, my kids were confronted with stuff very early, and also their peers. They in Norway, they get iPads in most schools from 6 years old, and a lot of peers have free access to their mobile phones. So there have been episodes of other kids finding stuff on the internet and then showing to their classmates. The worst that has happened in my daughter's class was that a boy switched on a video call with a stranger in the school, and the stranger started pulling down his trousers and masturbating, and that video was shown to a lot of kids in the class, and they were very disturbed. Or also, there's now an app that can turn a photo of anybody into a naked version of that person. So there is a lot of scary stuff out there that already very young kids can be exposed to. So especially skills to protect themselves from what they see on screens is very important to me. That or also if they type something in the search online, in the browser, if they misspell it, they can easily get dirty stuff. So teaching them, if you see anything yucky, put away the device, go to an adult and get help. And especially in school, that they say no to it and go away. You don't have to tell them in detail what is out there. It's enough to know that there is dangerous stuff and how to protect yourself from it. I think that's very important to give them from a very young age.
Another friend of mine, he's a teacher, and he also mentioned, like, he mentions these topics to his class to warn them, of what dangers screens have and how to avoid them. And I asked him if he thinks they're talking about these things at home, and he said he really doesn't think so, which is really crazy, actually, right? If you think about how these things can really impact our kids. So nice that you have that culture already built up, and so how does that look on a day-to-day basis, teaching your kids?
Well, I mean, I had to build up this culture, right? So
Right.
I'd like to talk about that first.
Sure.
How I built up that culture. First, I had to educate myself and kind of fill the gaps that I had, like the spiritual and biological aspects of conjugal love and marriage, and then choose what I want to know my kids when. Um, so like a lot about that protection and yeah, the value. And something that made it very concrete for me was that I decided to teach the Sunday school group that was at that time around 5 years old, give or take a few years. And I wanted to teach them about purity because I heard from the other parents that stuff had been coming up, like classmates were girlfriend, boyfriend, or classmates talked about kissing. So I found it important to get some points across already then.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing Sunday school since then. So kind of now, last summer, this age group was kind of 12 to 16 years old. So I did another round of purity teaching on a higher level. But so when they were 5 years old was kind of the start when I created material about that, created lessons about that. So I thought, what do I want to tell them and how do I argue for it? Because today's generation is not satisfied with just hearing, don't kiss anybody on the mouth, or don't show your private parts. So why is that? And when is it okay to show your private parts? For example, if you take a shower at a public pool or have a doctor appointment or when your parents are washing you, then it's okay. So why is that? So I started using the words big or small marriage actions. So we want to avoid small marriage actions like seeing the private parts of somebody, or of somebody who you could be attracted to, or who could be attracted to you, because that could lead to big marriage actions like sex. I didn't say the word sex with the 5-year-olds, but quite quickly somebody was like, "Oh, you're talking about sex," and then there was kind of, okay, there was a spoiler there, and then they made the connection. But then you have to differentiate, right? So it's usually not a risk to show your private parts if it's a very close relative, like your parents or your siblings, or if it's the same gender, like at the public shower, or if it's at the doctor, because that's for medical purposes. So these actions are safe because they will most likely not lead to big marriage actions. And even then, you can say no. Like we ask our children before we wash them or before we take off their clothes, and if they say no, that's okay. If they say no at the doctor's office, that's okay. And then we find a different solution to teach them that if they have a yucky feeling about that, they say no and come talk to the parents about that. And also I used metaphors to help them understand, especially when they were just 5 years old. Like I talked about how parents say you're not allowed to play with a big knife, not because it's a sin or anything, but because it can be dangerous if they haven't yet learned how to use a big knife, or if there's nobody to help them. Or I compared having a love relationship before they were adults to eating a cake before it's baked, right? This maturity or ripening metaphor. It's kind of interesting. It tastes good, but it's much better when it's baked. And if you eat the
Mhm.
cake before it's baked, it will never be baked, you know. So kind of waiting for something better, how that is a positive thing. I also want to point out here that especially when teaching Sunday school, it's very important to stress respect for other people, especially respecting, you know, some of these parents chose a different way or didn't kind of follow the standard way, if you want. And everyone is doing their best and everything is okay and everyone is on their way at the same time as I want to show them the most straight way or several ways that are more straight and lead to potentially a more happy marriage or a happier way to get there, a better way to get there. And also the different opinions are okay and encouraging them to have an open communication with the parents. And I also talk to the parents, telling them what I'm teaching them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also great. You said it also before that you teach your kids to respect the opinions and the approaches that other kids may have, and I think that's really great. It also maybe was missing in our childhood a little bit. And I love the expression marriage action also just because for us who are in a couple relationship already, it's also kind of implying, yeah, marriage has action. It's like it's something you do, it's not stagnant. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so you kind of went through these ABCs already from a young age. And that's so cool because you developed even material for it for your own Sunday school community. Um, and that brought you to the through this process of, yeah, what do I want to pass on to my kids and community about sexuality? That sounds really cool. So, and then you said you did it again with an older age. So did you have to reflect again, like more deeply then on, I don't know, in more detail about sexuality, or was it just kind of taking the same material and applying it for 11-year-olds?
It was more that I made the material when my daughter was 5 years old, and kind of the oldest blessed children were about 5 years old. And then it kind of grew together with them and it grew together with my children. So when I sat down and wanted to make new material for this age group now, I feel that I was already at that age level pretty much with, or like I knew how to talk to them because it was kind of a constant thing, a constant change of my arguments and my wordings. And last year I wanted to focus especially on how to protect themselves on the internet. And for that, I used material that the Norwegian Red Cross, no, not, yeah, Red Cross, but the Save the Children part of the Red Cross, I think. They have very good material on the Norwegian website. So I just downloaded it and picked cases to teach them. And yeah, I also just Google translated it to German to use at the German workshop because society is also interested in keeping children safe to a high degree.
And so in your community, you've been kind of leading the conversation about sexuality. Do you feel like parents have followed your lead, or have they kind of depended on you for this? What would you say?
I know that the parents are very grateful to me, and I have been very open to about what I'll teach them. I sent them my notes on beforehand and things, and they have been very supportive and approved of it. I don't know how much or how they talk at home, but I did see that a lot of what I wanted to teach the children it was not the first time they heard it. It was I saw that they were already on a very good path, and I partly felt like running in an open door with things like wait until marriage and stuff. So we could go more to the discussing cases and examples on how to get out of tricky situations. So I do feel that our children are well protected and well educated about this.
That's awesome. And so you do use daily life to speak with your kids, like you were explaining to me last time. How does that look like?
Yeah, that's and teaching my children is something very natural and very integrated in life. I just use every opportunity to shower them with knowledge. For example, if we see a train, I might just start talking about old locomotives, how they use steam engines and so on, just to use that opportunity to teach them, which also creates bonding, right? So I would do the same about conjugal love or sexuality. For example, if we see that, teenagers kiss in a movie, I might say something like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. I would want them to wait because they're not yet ready to take care of another person. Oh, please just stay friends. When you're grown up and you still like each other, then you can start thinking about marrying each other, but yeah, so just expressing my thoughts and feelings about that. And then I might, depending on the situations, I might just go on teaching them that God, his plan was that children first become adults and that they only have one partner. And when they are married, first then they have marriage actions because that creates the most stable marriage and family, and that's so valuable. And that's the best for the soul. And that's how human beings can be most happy because that's how God has created them. And then if I have even more time, I might also add that most people don't know this and they go around kissing different people or never marry, and we don't want to judge them. We still want to be kind to them. Or if I'll just go through a few examples if that's okay with you.
Sure.
If a child touches the private parts, which is very natural and it's no sin and it's no harm to begin with, right? Thinking about babies, toddlers, small kids, it's a natural part of learning about their body and learning about the world. And then I would explain that they have dirty hands, so it's very unhygienic to touch the private parts, and the private parts also have bacteria on them. So they need to wash their hands kind of before and afterwards, and they can't be bothered to do that. So that's an argument not to do it, not to touch the private parts. And also that private parts are meant for their future spouse. And that's something they want to save for later. And also it might make them feel stuff or feel feelings that they want to feel together with a future spouse, that they want to save for later. And saying all of this with kind of a happy, looking forward to attitude. Not shock, not fear, not shame, but that I in myself am feeling this is something to look forward to. This is something nice that God gave you and you can save it, and that's something really valuable. Or if we see a baby, then I might say, oh, when you're grown up and you have married, then you can have your own babies, and that I'm looking forward to helping them with you. Just when I draw their future, that I draw their future with this, again, excitement about that they'll go this path because I know this is good for them. Of course, without pushing it to them, it's not like I'm forcing them to be a lawyer because that's the best job they can get, but more that as a gift to them, that this is such a great life and family that they have ahead of themselves. Or if I see, you know, in the media something about teenage crushes or teenagers dating, then I might say something like, "Oh, I'm so glad I never had any of this dating drama. And when you're grown up, then Daddy and I can help you find a partner if you want. And with that partner, you can have a very strong and happy marriage with, so you don't have to go through this dating drama either." And these conversations have been developing as my children have grown older. And then last year, it's kind of gone a bit next step where I've taught them phrases like sexualized media and sex sells, in the context of advertisement and just expressing my anger, and showing how sad I am. And then I say that it's so sad that Satan took away the most holy from God and pulled it into the dirt, and that I don't want to look at that. I want to skip that. And I find it so sad how they misuse sexuality and beautiful bodies to sell something. Yeah, that's the examples I wanted to share.
Yeah, great examples. Also, since I've heard you, how you, when you watch movies, you also use it as a education opportunity. We've also started to do that. Yeah, to just kind of speak more openly, like, because I think often like we've just maybe ignored it and been like, oh, okay, that's just not so appropriate. But to kind of really go into it and be like, look, they're offering their hearts to each other, but they're totally not ready for it. And then you kind of see in most movies that totally plays out, like young teenagers falling in love, but then they're totally not stable themselves to be in a relationship. And usually that illustrates itself in the film. Yeah, that's really nice how you just use it in your everyday life. Yeah, like your kids, when, like, I don't know if this is like, how does it look with your kids? Like, is it like routine, like, oh, mama's talking about this again? Or is it kind of um, like, are they really receptive to the information you want to share about sexuality?
I would say yes, and I would say they've taken everything in. Now they're starting to get annoyed by it. Just last week, I saw a rainbow flag and I said, "Oh, I have so mixed feelings about the rainbow flag." And then my kids are like, "Mommy, we know." And then I'm like, "Oh, but I still want you to know these things. Mommy, we know." And then they actually held their ears when I gave that talk about, you know, it's nice that they don't want to punish people for whom these people love and their choices, but it's bad because it's bad for these people's souls and they're kind of encouraging love that is unhealthy. Yeah, my kids were just holding their ears because they already know. And then afterwards I was like, okay, maybe I should push a bit less and more just trust them if they say that they know. And also seeing that my daughter is now 11, soon 12, and my 7-year-old, even though he's 4.5 years younger, I feel like the talks have often been similar. Like the topics have kind of developed as if they were the same age. So I think I might come to this point where they don't want to hear so much more about this, and where kind of it's kind of time is up to teach them about delicate topics, especially with my daughter, I feel like. So, especially with my daughter, I'll lean back a bit more and wait for her to come to me and trust that she remembers all the stuff I have told her already, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I think so. Like you've already explained a lot, and I kind of notice in my own 11-year-olds, like I guess they do want to be, yeah, doing things on their own, and yeah, just know that they're trusted. Like, yeah, whether it's going like to the supermarket on their own, going shopping, or being with friends or on a sleepover or whatever. I think, yeah, they want to know that they're trusted. And I guess for us as parents, like, I just want to know, like, I want to get everything clear, like, say everything I need to beforehand so that I know, yeah, that she feels supported, but also trusted. Yeah.
Yeah, an area that's more relevant for my family is that I used to censor books when my kids were younger, both for scary stuff but also sexual stuff. And when I said no to a book, I would discuss with them and tell them why, for example, that it promotes underage love relationships or so. But now I can not possibly check all the books they're reading, right? Especially my daughter is just reading so many books. But then the conversation would look more like, oh, that cover looks like it's a love story in that book. And then she says, yeah, I find that really annoying. I just ignore that and I focus on the horse story in the book. And that's it, you know. So checking a little bit and then trusting that she can censor books herself now.
Yeah, my daughter is also a big bookworm, and I also don't have the time to read everything before she does. So we're also dealing with that, and I think how I am dealing with it, because it's hard to forbid certain books when I don't know what it really is about. We're trying to bring up more discussions about what the book is about. So she tells us, and I want her also to feel free. Like, she can tell me also the things that might lean towards anything sexual. Or yeah, usually it's not sexual, but more relationships of the characters. And yeah, that she just brings it up, and then we discuss, like, okay, how does this look in an ideal world? Like, would that really lead to a happy future or not? And yeah, so that she can also think for herself and also not just hear my words. And hopefully it'll guide her to choose content in the future that is more nourishing. So do your kids ever come to you with a question about sexuality, or is it more just coming from your side?
They do come with questions. It's not so much just because I've been sharing so much with knowledge, but they do tell me stuff from their classmates, like, oh, these are girlfriend, boyfriend, things like that. And I do believe that if they have a questions about these topics, they will come to me or their father or another adult. And they know we've also talked about which adults in their social network have the same values, and meaning kind of who knows that dating is bad for the soul. And yeah, so mostly parents in Family Federation. And I'm so grateful that they have so many trusting relationships to other parents in Family Federation and their grandparents and so on. So I know that they have lots of people to talk to. And also, I've been working very hard to get away from judging my children or punishing or rewarding them. And I've been using the concept of nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. And that goes more to showing empathy, acknowledging that it's interesting, the kids are curious, and that feelings happen, and that feelings are not negative in themselves. And yeah, having this, I'm really trying to have this open attitude about all topics, and no matter how stupid it is what they did, I'm really trying to give them empathy instead of judgment. And I've also been sharing some regrets I have from my life and what I'm proud of in regard to purity and preparing for marriage. And that I hope that that will help them to avoid these mistakes and also feel more safe to come to me, knowing that, I've also made mistakes and I'm also okay talking about that and I go through it, so that they feel more safe to come to me than if I would say, I did everything right and you have to do everything right as well.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think helped you guys to create this foundation to have these talks where, yeah, lots of people typically find them uncomfortable? But yeah, you guys have been having lots of different talks covering lots of different areas. What do you think built up that foundation?
I think it's our lifestyle, our family culture in general, that we talk a lot and talk openly, and that I'm saying that I'm trying not to judge them and being a role model as well. How we talk about others in a respectful way and still giving our opinion, and just showing them that they can talk to us about if they made mistakes in other areas, that they are still safe with us. I think that has given them the security to come and talk to us, and also that I've been talking to them also gives them words and phrasings and the vocabulary to talk to us about that. I think that's been a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And also all of that has been spreading throughout your community, so sounds like a great place to be. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Johanna.
You're welcome. Thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah, it was really great. We saw each other last in Munich, and yeah, you couldn't find your wallet, right? And then where was it again?
It was in the where you hang your coats. Somebody had placed it there.
Right, and then it was totally safe the whole time. So that's also one thing awesome about our community, is that, like, yeah, basically 98% of the time you can trust everyone. I also realized my purse had been laying somewhere the whole day and nobody had touched it. So yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, I'm also really, really grateful for the safe people around us. And I'm also grateful that it goes beyond Family Federation, that she has great friends here and her friends have great parents. So it's a really safe social network in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you to your daughter who was babysitting your youngest, right? Okay, then see you another time. Thank you so much, Johanna.
Thank you, Amelia. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Join in on the conversation. You can email me feedback, ideas, questions, suggestions at amelia@schooloflove.org. Or go straight to schooloflove.org to join our newsletter. If you're a fan of WhatsApp, join our WhatsApp community to keep up with podcasts and some exciting new things coming up.